Don't you know that I gotta get out of here? This freaking sucks. Ugh.
Hey, Zan.
Yeah?
I found the keys.
Keys?
Keys to the box.
Keys to the box?
Yeah, stupid. The box you've been stuck in all summer.
Oh, that box! Those keys!
Yeah, would you like the keys?
Yes, please. Freedom! It is good to be back. Oh, damn! New backdrop and that. Oh, we going shirt and tie this season? Pulling out all the stops on this one. We still set to do this?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Recorded in Round Rock, Texas, in front of a live teleconferenced audience, it's the What's Update with Xander Quation.
Season 3, Crackpots, Karens, and Robber Barons.
Hey, everybody. Damn, this is a crazy summer, right? I tell you, it's really great to be back behind the desk. Now, just see if I remember how to start this thing. Here we go. There we go. Good as new. Welcome to the What's Update. I'm Xander Quation. Let's get started. The big not news of the last week is that California Governor Gavin Newsom is keeping his job after Republicans forced a recall election that cost the state approximately $275 million just to have Newsom win by about the same margin that he did in the actual election. News outlets have been calling it a landslide. Hang on a minute. This wasn't a landslide, folks. This was a Democrat rerunning for governor in California. That's like asking a room full of 14-year-old boys if they want to see some titties. But in true Hollywood fashion, the next thing you know, Variety will be reporting that some studio is already working on a self-congratulatory movie/musical starring Timothy Chalamet and Anya Taylor-Joy that's guaranteed to receive more Oscar nominations than anything directed by a woman or a person of color. We're off to a great start here. As we are filming, Gen Con 2021 is in full swing in Indianapolis, after having to go digital for 2020 because of the pandemic. Gen Con was established in 1968 by Dungeons & Dragons co-founder Gary Gygax in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, and has long been the mecca of the tabletop gaming community. This year, masks are required for all indoor spaces, regardless of vaccination status. So, remember, my fellow D&D dweebs, unless you're a paladin or a high-level monk and are immune to disease, follow these rules. Wash your hands, don't touch your face, stay out of melee range, and as my DM always tells me, always wear a mask, because it will definitely improve your charisma score.
Auburn.
While we're on the subject of fantasy settings and swords, archaeologists in the UK have found that an ancient monument linked to King Arthur is actually older than Stonehenge. The Neolithic structure, known as Arthur's Stone in Herefordshire, between England and Wales, is over 6,000 years old. After reading reports of these findings, Senator Bernie Sanders said, "You should have seen it when it was new. Breathtaking." Now, speaking of Stonehenge, scientific testing has revealed that the ancient structure is made of an almost indestructible material. A core sample taken at the site shows the stone's geochemical composition to be 99.7% quartz crystals, making them insanely durable. In layman's terms, Stonehenge is a bit softer than adamantium and just slightly harder than a Republican governor at a puppy kicking contest.
Ooh. Oh.
Yeah, one more before we leave the United Kingdom. Scotland is having beaver troubles.
What?
Not that kind, you reprobate! Get your mind out of the gutter! Ecology and agriculture are butting heads over the reintroduction of beavers into the Scottish ecosystem, after the animals were hunted to extinction in the region 4 centuries ago. The beavers, while important for creating wildlife habitats and helping to preserve biodiversity, also gnaw and fell trees, and build dams that flood fields and wreck drainage systems.
Is your beaver creating unexpected drainage? Try Scorchachoach from April Pharmaceuticals.
Call now, folks. We'll bring in a second one free.
Yeah.
In medical news, Democrats in both the House and the Senate are proposing an expansion to Medicare to add dental benefits to basic health coverage as part of the large budget bill moving through Congress. If passed, this would be one of the largest changes to Medicare since its inception. Expansions like this have long been proposed, but have always been blocked by the lobbying arm of the American Dental Association. That's right, folks. 4 out of 5 dentists surveyed say, fuck poor people's teeth. The remains of a teenager who died approximately 7,200 years ago have revealed a previously unknown prehistoric lineage of humans. The Liang Panaj remains are named for the cave in Sulawesi, Indonesia, where they were found. The remains are believed to be of a 17 to 18-year-old girl of the Tolian culture, hunter-gatherers who disappeared about 1,500 years ago. The same researchers were unsurprised to find near the body evidence of early Stone Age milk crates. According to new federal data, life expectancy in the United States dropped 1.5 years in 2020, largely as a result of the pandemic and the steepest decline in the U.S. since World War II. The findings show that Black and Hispanic Americans were hit disproportionately harder than white Americans. Hispanic Americans' life expectancy dropped 3 years, while Black Americans saw a loss of 2.9 years. White life expectancy, in contrast, fell by only 1.2 years. Now, of course, Congress completely throws off this bell curve. Anti-vaxxers have taken to gargling an iodine-based antiseptic called betadine as a new cure for COVID-19. Betadine is normally used in emergency and operating rooms as a disinfectant, and is occasionally used in very low quantities to treat a sore throat. But experts insist that such usage is potentially toxic and has no effect on the coronavirus at all. Seems to me that if they are seeking medieval solutions to modern epidemics, might I suggest bloodletting to balance their humors? Or how about leeches? Or even a nice mercury tincture? And proving yet again that stupidity is contagious, U.S. Capitol Police arrested a suspicious individual parked outside the headquarters of the Democratic National Convention. The California man had a bayonet and a machete in his trunk, which are prohibited. The Capitol Police were suspicious, as the truck had antlers on its grille, swastikas on its mirrors, and a douchebag in the front seat. Though, I'm sure he was just there for the impromptu incels flash mob. The Education Department's Office for Civil Rights is investigating whether Florida, by preventing school districts from requiring masks, is violating the rights of students with disabilities. The department also opened similar probes in Iowa, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Utah. Texas isn't on the list of states, not because they aren't doing the same thing, but because it's already being sued. Firsties! And finally, a recent study has shown that one's ability to bullshit others may be a sign of higher intelligence. According to Martin Turpin and his fellow researchers at the University of Waterloo's Reasoning and Decision-Making Lab, quote, individuals capable of producing more satisfying bullshit are judged by second-hand observers to be more intelligent. Members of the jury, I give you Exhibit X. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Yeah!
Welcome back. So long as the people do not care to exercise their freedom, those who wish to tyrannize will do so. For tyrants are active and ardent, and will devote themselves in the name of any number of gods, religious and otherwise, to put shackles upon sleeping men. An astute observation from French Enlightenment essayist, historian, and philosopher Francois-Marie Arouet. better known by his pen name, Voltaire. Put simply, doers of evil will do evil in the name of their gods as long as they are allowed to get away with it. So, yeah, we took the summer off, and there's been a whole lot of tomfuckery going on while we were on break dicking around on TikTok. But we are back, and we are rip-roaring to go. So, on September 1st, 666, that's right kids, 666, new laws went into effect in Texas, most of which can be summed up as
evil, pure and simple from the 8th dimension!
Now, I don't know anything about the 8th dimension, but I do know evil when I see it. So, here's the thing. Greg Abbott, governor of Texas, and all his boot-licking, red hat-wearing, Trump-humping minions are a big, steaming bucket of evil rat bastards. Now, we don't have time to unpack all of the new laws passed by the Texas legislature and signed by that rolling sack of shit Greg Abbott, but I feel honor-bound to talk about some of the worst on the list. The elephant in the room is the 6-week abortion ban, tied to a $10,000 bounty for narking on women exercising their constitutional right to privacy. We'll get to that in detail soon enough. Let's kick this off with the hot and sticky handjo gifted to the ammo-sexuals of our fair state. House Bill 1927 allows Texans ages 21 and older to carry handguns without training or a license as long as they are not legally prevented from doing so. Any jackass with a form of ID can walk away with their very own weapon of mass mayhem, with nary a buy your leave sold by retailers willing to arm the depraved and dangerous for cash and credit. No training, no permits, no laws, no problem.
Evil, pure and simple!
Can't get enough jingoism and gonad-draining thrills from walking around with a deadly metal penis strapped to your hip? Why not get erect for SB4, the Star-Spangled Banner Protection Act? This lovely bit of maggot masturbating mandates that professional sports teams with state funding play the national anthem before games. Stand for that anthem, you reprobates, or we'll come for your cash.
Evil!
While we were on the subject of treasonous turncoats, any protesters who block any road or freeway and prevent emergency vehicles from passing or block hospital entrances will now face felony charges. HB 9 raises the offense from a misdemeanor to a state felony, punishable by 2 years in prison. 24 months in Huntsville should scare activism on behalf of victims of police brutality right out of you.
Evil, pure and simple!
Now, while we're on the subject of punishment and the police, HB 1900 allows the state to financially punish cities who cut police budgets. If municipalities with a population of more than 250,000, i.e. urban populations, vote to reduce their police budget, the state of Texas can retaliate by reducing the city's sales tax revenues and prevent them from increasing property taxes. That's right, folks. The only representation you'll get from your taxation will be an overworked pro bono public defender after the cops beat the shit out of you.
Evil!
Not content with just meddling in municipal law enforcement policy, old Governor Sit-and-Spin over here has decided to intrude in business policy as well. SB 968 prohibits privately owned businesses from requiring customers to prove their vaccination status to receive service. Companies that don't comply could risk losing their licenses, operating permits, or existing state contracts. So much for the Republican policy of, if it's laissez-faire, it's all fair.
Evil, pure and simple!
Of course, fairness was never really the goal here, was it? If it was, then SB 1 wouldn't have made it out of committee. You know SB 1, right? No? Democrats leaving the state in the deep, dark dead of night to protect voting rights on behalf of the already mostly disenfranchised? Does it ring a bell? How about the SB 1 that tightens Texas's already suffocating restrictions on voting, including eliminating drive-through and 24-hour voting and setting all new limits on early voting hours? Yep, you heard that correctly. It's that bell ringing. The death knell of democracy for the elderly, the poor, people of color, students, and anyone that can't take election day off to go vote in person, especially during an endless global pandemic. Oh, what's that, you say? Greg the Ghoul and his grotesque groupies are the ones dragging out the pandemic by refusing to mask up and get vaccinated? Well, duh. Maybe if they had just learned about global pandemics in school, we might not be in this mess.
Evil!
Also on the chopping block, learning from history, or even the present for that matter. HB 3979 and SB 3 prohibit teachers from discussing current events and systemic racism in class. It prevents teachers from offering class credit for civic engagement, and bans discussion of the 1619 Project. For those people with a skin tone lighter than Pantone 727 that may not be familiar with the subject, the 1619 Project is a featured journalism piece by Nicole Hannah-Jones, an investigative journalist for the New York Times, that, quote, aims to reframe the country's history by placing the consequences of slavery and the contributions of Black Americans at the very center of our national narrative. So yeah, we can't let kids learn the truth about how slave labor and systemic racism preserved a culture of white supremacy and the institutional degradation of people of color. They just might have questions.
Evil! Pure and simple!
And not content to hobble teachers in the classroom and keep Texas children in the dark, there is also HB 2497, the so-called Texas 1836 Project. Its stated goal is to teach patriotic education since the state's war for independence from Mexico. Among the many gems in this law is the creation of an advisory committee with the stated goal of promoting patriotic education and increasing awareness of the Texas values that continue to stimulate boundless prosperity across the state. I mean, sometimes the punchlines just write themselves, folks.
Evil!
Now, this is getting a bit long, so here are just a few more quick takes. HB 1925 makes camping in unapproved public places a misdemeanor crime that carries a fine of up to $500. Cities cannot opt out of the ban. Take that, homeless people!
Evil!
Throwing a bone, giggity, to evangelicals, HB 1239 explicitly states that places of worship cannot be ordered to close for any reason by any government agency or public official, including during a disaster or, a global pandemic. Jesus loves the super spreaders, science deniers of the world. There's a need to cuss or fight. No vaccine? That's all right. Jesus loves super spreaders of the world.
Evil!
And finally, there is SB 8, which prohibits abortions as early as 6 weeks into pregnancy. This fetal heartbeat bill skirts Roe v. Wade by allowing private individuals with no connection to the woman or the doctor to sue anyone that assists in an abortion after an ultrasound can detect a heartbeat. And anyone that wins that case gets a cool $10K for their troubles. Nothing like collecting a big bounty on women dealing with the toughest decisions they'll ever have to make to prove to the folks at the America First rally how pro-life you really are.
Evil! Pure and simple!
Now, I can't begin to fathom what would inspire a human being to do such things to their fellow human beings. I've spent time, all summer in fact, trying to figure out why anyone would create laws like these. Honestly, these people call themselves good Christians. They consider themselves to be paragons of traditional values. They tell the public that they are doing the Lord's work. Yeah, if your Lord is Sauron or Voldemort, the only answer I've been able to rationalize is that they get off on punching down. Hurting people that have done them no harm just gives them rock-hard boners. They beat off to concentration camp footage. They splooge buckets thinking about the suffering in Haiti. They get horny watching clips of children starving in Africa. They're bad people. They get away with being bad people because there are even worse people that enthusiastically support them. And the truly horrifying part of it all is these worse people are criminally misinformed and an immediate and credible danger to a civil society. Voltaire broke it down thusly: as long as people believe in absurdities, they will continue to commit atrocities. The absurd have courted the atrocious, and they are willing to burn it all to the ground for no other discernible reason than to own the libs. We'll be right back with BMoThePrince. Stick around.
Woo! Yeah!
Ugh. Nicki Minaj is saying we gave her cousin's friend swollen testicles? Well, that's nuts. Grow up.
Hey, it's probably your fault, Captain Viagra.
Whoa, I didn't do a thing. No one did, because it's not true.
But what if it is?
It's not.
I mean, imagine living with just a couple planets in your pants. Bobby Beach Balls is about to be a baby-making machine.
Well, the rumor is it made him impotent.
Oh. So we do birth control now?
No.
Oh, thank God. Because I'm trying to sell shampoo to those little gremlins.
Why are you like this?
I don't know. But I'd rather be like Tommy Two-Ton Testicles.
It's not true.
He came in with 2 wrecking balls. He's gonna need big underwear.
Welcome back. Let's hop right in with our 3 standard questions. Who you, what's due, and why?
I am BMoThePrince. I am just a TikTok idiot and a guy who makes internet funny videos for people so they can have some funnies.
So aside from that, what to do?
That's what he does.
Usually we have different formats.
What do I do? I guess just like think about whatever right now, the crate challenge. Think about whatever dumb stuff is going on in the world. I make fun of it.
Definitely know how that goes. And finally, why?
Why? Well, here's why. We've spent over a year, having some pretty crazy things happen. So I figure
That's a bit of an understatement.
Right? I figure you can look at it one of 2 ways. Either we laugh at it or we just sink deeper into debt. So might as well try to have some sort of fun with it, I guess.
That whole thing of like, we laugh so that we do not cry.
Yes, literally that. Exactly that.
Yeah, it's a noble goal. Is there anything you're working on right now or have coming out soon that you'd like to tell our audience about?
Right now, I have a podcast, Nonsense and Nostalgia, and right now we're in our little like break period because we're working on some fun little special tidbits to add in. So that'll be sometime in September. We'll be on its way back with maybe some interviews and some other little fun additions to what we've been doing. And other than that, it's really just comedy stuff, starting to work on some stand-up stuff and put that together to go out into the world and let people throw tomatoes at me and tell me I'm not funny. So just all that good stuff, so then it won't be in the comment section. It'll be right in front of my face. So it'll be great.
Yeah, people will actually have to work on their aim instead of just random nonsense.
Yeah, exactly.
You can either have a purpose to your argument or have a bit more aim to your throw.
It's one or the other. You gotta make a choice.
One thing you can say about Zoom comedy, at least they can't throw stuff at you then.
That's it. And if it's going bad, you can just shut your laptop. If you walk off stage, it's not a good look.
He just like, oh no, technical issues.
Exactly.
You just like fake freeze and then close the whole thing out.
Oh yeah. If you freeze on stage, it's gonna look weird. People will think it's weird.
Yeah. So circling back to your Nonsense and Nostalgia podcast, could you tell us more about it and like how it came about?
So before all the TikTok comedy things and the Instagram comedy stuff, I was a radio personality and I worked with in Boston. And one of the people that I worked with on the morning show, her and I, the radio station through COVID got flipped and no longer exists. So we all lost our jobs. And in pandemic times, we were just looking for an outlet. And the two of us kind of got together to just discuss our millennial musings, I guess. Just the suffering through getting older and realizing that we're getting older and not being able to drink like we used to and party like we used to.
Not with that attitude. You can't. Come on.
And just like all the, pop culture stuff, all the weirdness going on around us right now for the last year and a half. So just a lot of that, a lot of nostalgic 90s things, but mostly just nonsense.
Very similar origins to the show right here. Like, okay, everything's shut down. All right, Semper Fi, improvise, adapt, overcome. Let's do this.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, where can we find Nonsense and Nostalgia?
It's it's a great question. It's I think almost everywhere that you can get a podcast. But I definitely know like the biggest for us is Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Both of those get hit pretty often. So if you're looking for us, you can find us in at least one of those two places. And there's a bunch of others, but I don't pay enough attention.
We'll see if we can get some relevant links for that down the video.
Absolutely.
So, like on your background, like your bio says that you're actually from Boston. So I must ask, do you have the accent and don't use it, or do you not have the accent?
I had it, and I had it pretty bad. But in college, I was going to school for sports broadcasting, and naturally, everyone was like, "Listen, if you want to get a job somewhere outside of Boston, you need to stop parking your cars. Like, you have got to go park one." And so it was actually kind of hard, and I had to become super aware of the way I spoke and what left my mouth, which I don't do anymore. But I had to really focus on if I said something that had the accent, I had to then like afterwards notice it and then just kind of keep repeating it over and over to kind of push all of that out of the way I spoke. So now people usually have no idea that I'm from Boston, which was the goal. But now I wouldn't care because I didn't do sports broadcasting, but at least the accent's gone.
Well, the more different ways you can speak, the better that's good for comedy.
Yeah, of course, naturally. But I picked up a new letter. I picked up an R. So it's nice.
Yeah. So where did you go to college? Did you study journalism or broadcasting in particular?
I went to Massasoit Community College out here and then Bridgewater State College. And at both it was media, communications, all that. I was just trying to do, I didn't really know. It was just TV and radio and entertainment in general was just what I wanted to do. And since clown college isn't really a thing, I had
as
to go.
As far as I've seen.
That's not true.
I had to go learn, TV and radio, and both of those, I love both of those very much. So it all plays a role in what I do now, oddly enough.
As we've seen from the past 2 years, not much goes to plan.
Yeah,
but it all still helps in the long run.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, like, getting back down to the base of it, how did you get started on being interested in entertainment as a whole?
I don't think there is like a particular point, because as far back as I can think of, my mom will tell me the same. As a kid, I was a ham, a bit of a ham.
I have no idea what that's like.
Like that kid that had to be in the middle of the room, just like putting on a show for whatever. I would just doing whatever dumb stuff to make people laugh. And I think through school and everything, I stayed the class clown, and teachers used to say, "Why don't you just get into this or that and do this?" and introduce me to more worlds, more things within the world of entertainment. And more as time has worn on, I've just kind of honed in on what I like, what I don't, and realize that is just what I'm passionate about, was entertainment the whole time.
Just like all these different fields are brilliant, but the laughs, they're nice.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. It's all for the laughs. The laughs are the payoff right there.
Especially because, like, unlike a lot of other things, a laugh is an involuntary response.
Yes, you can't hide it. People can lie to you and tell you it's good, but if they laugh, then you know.
So did you, throughout your school career, did you do theater or anything like that?
None of it. Maybe in like elementary school, I did. But since then, none of it, really. My school didn't really like have a great theater program. I went to a super small school. Like my graduating class was 60 kids, and it was the biggest graduating class in years. The class before us graduated like 35. So it was such a small school. We just didn't have like a theater program or whatever. So I didn't really get into it at all.
Yeah. I definitely found that with or without it, once you start getting into comedy, it starts to come naturally, especially when it's on things like the news or current events, or most often people being idiots, and you kind of have bottomless material.
Oh God, do you ever? We went to Miami recently, and someone had recognized me at like the beach, and they had said, I really hope that at some point you start to run out of material. And I was like, you know what? So do I. Because just because it's all like this whole last year is what my material's been. And I'm like, I'm hoping that there's a flip that we can change the path.
It's like, if these people can stop doing this, then I stop making fun of it, and I can go move on to something else that's funny.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like every time we're just like over here on the Gen X style edges of Gen Z land, just like looking out over the rest of the generation, just be like, why, guys, why?
It's there's consistently a well of nonsense to pull from.
Yeah. And speaking of like bottomless pits of human absurdity and nonsense, where did the inspiration for your generational conflict and God and Jesus videos come from?
The generation ones were when I started, like everybody else, hopped on TikTok because I didn't have anything else to do when we were all quarantined. And I had one millennial video. It was like a dance video, which I'm not a dancer, that went viral. And then a ton of Gen Z kids were like fussing about it. And they were like, we know this music, like this isn't a millennial thing. Like and they tore into me. So then I just took it and took all like parts of their comments and used it as a joke to just be like, look at the differences, and just wrote like a quick sketch about it, and it blew up. And then people kept asking for more. And I was like, all right, well, I am perfectly down to keep making fun of the people that think they're making fun of me. And so that just kind of became looking at the differences in each generation. And oddly enough, the similarities too, because I think a lot of Gen Z doesn't realize we did all that same stuff, just in a different way, in a different time. So it all passes through the same thing. So all of that just came from there. And the God, Jesus ones were just sort of like, I tried to think of the years were screwing up, and I did years videos, and I was trying to think of who would be the president and CEO of the years while they're trying to like do their business or whatever. And I was like, well, I guess there's only one person that would be in charge of everything. So there's an easy out. And so I just went with that. And that was like another one that I didn't know was going to work out, but people gravitated towards it. So I stuck with it and keep doing it now.
And then invariably now you got crossovers where it's like millennial walking in like, I'm looking for the guy that makes the wine.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Naturally, like and it's funny because the crossover ones are fun too, because I think then at this point, like, you've built an audience and they follow each different kind of story in its own world. So it's kind of like if you saw, like in the MCU, when you see Spider-Man show up and he's with Captain America, all of a sudden you're like, whoa! It's kind of like if you see one character from one story you follow, yeah, in another one, all of a sudden they get excited about it, which is funny.
So, wow, I just completely lost my train of thought there. Oh yeah. So
you're getting older, I see. There you go. Welcome to it.
Like I am Gen Z, but I've been told I have the inky black soul of a Gen X clove cigarette smoker, so I'm already on that way.
It's a very accurate description.
Oh yeah, but on that topic, so your age says that you are a millennial, but do you self-identify that way?
Yeah. I, for the longest time, didn't know I didn't know this was a big deal. And I don't think it was really that big of a thing until like recently. It just, and maybe that's a social media thing that people started kind of claiming their repping their set. I didn't really know where I fell. I honestly thought like all of us that weren't like Gen X were just millennials. And then finally found out that obviously millennial ends at some point and whatever. But I did realize that I'm on the older end of millennials, which was a fun realization, which is called apparently an elder millennial, and more recently a geriatric millennial, which was aggressive.
No sympathy, none at all.
Well, well, I know how I feel on that one because I am also kind of on the cusp, like right there. I was born in like 2001, so I'm right there on the cusp between the two generations, but it's still in the Gen Z range. So
yeah.
I think we can both agree that Gen X thinks both of us are stupid.
That's not true. We think you're adorable.
Yes, but you say it with that accent, Bridget.
There's just an air of sarcasm behind it. They're like, "You're all right." You know,
it's less like an air of sarcasm and more like a black cloud of cigarette smoke of sarcasm. But it's like sarcasm. Please just stop.
I can taste the sarcasm.
And then I live with it daily, so I get a little case of secondhand sarcasm. So. And thus the What's Update.
Yeah.
So back to things that are actually a bit more serious. What is the process for shooting your videos?
So it's kind of weird. Well, I guess not weird, but I don't really like think about it until a random, like I'll be driving and a random stupid idea pops in, and it could just be a line that I think is funny that would be funny in a sketch, and then I just kind of come back, write something. And it's literally just in my living room, I grab a couple shirts and then I shoot one character all the way through and then change, shoot one character all the way through, change, shoot one character all the way through and just edit them all together. All together, it takes maybe like an hour and a half from like just sit down, write it, and then shoot it and edit it. And it's not that wild of a process, but it is kind of funny to just think that I just go grab a ring light and just walk around my living room standing in different places talking to myself while my dog watches me with utter confusion.
Well, at this point, I can definitely attest to the efficacy of a ring light. So.
Oh, yeah. I wish I had invested in the ring light business right before this COVID thing happened, because the boom, they are making money hand over fist at this point.
Like time traveling back, invest in ring lights, in Zoom, and in the frigging company that made Among Us. Because like, oh boy, things got weird.
Oh yeah.
Time travel back was like, look, I know the stock market is really stupid, but trust me on this.
just trust me on this.
Circling back to the production, the shirts they use for the videos in particular, do you design those yourself? I noticed that they have like specific designs for Millennial, Gen X, and then for others. Do you design them yourself, or do you just look around and find things that work for it?
That was actually my wife's idea, who was like, you should make merch. And I was like, nobody's gonna buy a shirt of my stuff. And then I did, and then they did, and I was like, oh, all right, well, I like money, so I should. And eventually it was almost just the audience commands it. So if I said something in a video that was quotable or whatever, they would be like, I need this on a shirt. So I'd put it on a shirt and people would get it. And then eventually someone actually just made a design that millennial logo and was like, here, you can use it for whatever you want. If you want to use it for merch, use it for merch. I just wanted to make something, see if you'd think it was cool. And so I used that, and then people asked for, well, what about Gen Xers? We want a shirt. So it's literally just kind of been whatever the audience dictates, I'll make it. And if I can use it for the videos, then that's even better.
Wait, the Gen Xers actually interacted in a non-sarcastic way?
Yeah, it's a wild situation.
They're just like, wait, someone's actually noticing us? I find this situation a bit better than literally every other thing.
That's the whole thing, is the minute I added a Gen X character, they were all like, oh, someone remembered that we're here too, like we exist. That's nice.
us all band together to weaponize our sarcasm and anger against all the boomers.
They're now teaching us millennials the ways.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to be the shepherd of that information and inspiration to Gen Z. Except a little bit at a time in this case. So your website lists you as an actor, a social media influencer, comedian, radio TV personality, DJ, event host, MC, a lot of different things. So which one do you enjoy doing the most?
All of it. It's to me, it's all kind of the same thing at the end of the day, which is odd. It's just kind of like entertainer is the kind of title I guess I would put them all under, because the whole thing I like is kind of being able to give someone a good time, I guess. So if you're acting and and someone can relate to the story that you tell or what they've seen and they enjoy it, that's part of it. If you're just telling jokes, then that's part of it. If you're DJing, when you're out at like a bar or club, people don't realize that there's such an energy back and forth from the DJ to the patrons and back and forth. So all of it is just trying to bring out a good time for people and just have fun is really it.
Especially for comedy, you got that whole concept of like catharsis, because as soon as people can laugh at themselves, then things get a little bit better.
Oh yeah, usually.
It's especially necessary after the whole freaking train wreck of the past 2 years.
Oh yes, yeah, hell
definitely needs something to laugh at.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So overall, who are your biggest comedy influences? Because everybody's got some favorites.
So all through school, which for a long time I kind of fought against, was I got the comparison not of looks but like of attitude and things I did, was Will Smith, specifically the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So then I used to fight it, and then there was a day that like I did something out with friends and then we watched an episode and he did the same thing and I was like, all right, well, I guess I should shut the hell up now. So suddenly like then I just like kind of followed him, and like so Will Smith is kind of one of them, but then there's also people like obviously Dave Chappelle, which is like feels like an easy answer, but like one of the best, so how can you not? Someone like Seth Meyers I really like, because I think he has a stand-up special that I think is one of the funniest I've ever watched, and the biggest thing for me with him is that he can be insanely funny and be fairly clean with it. It doesn't have to go into like really like aggressive like cursing and like weird situations and stuff. Like you can be funny with just daily situations and present it in a somewhat clean way and digestible way.
Yeah, though he does still have the capacity to go there.
Oh yes he surely does.
Either that, or if it cannot be said, pass it off to Amber and Jenny.
Exactly.
That's one of my favorite parts of the freaking show.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but on the comedy special that you were talking about, I think we actually saw that special live.
Which one? I think I was talking about
the baby, the
Lottie baby one.
Yeah.
I actually saw that one in person when he was in town for Moon Tower, I believe.
Oh, color me jealous. It is. I think it's brilliantly funny. Brilliantly funny.
Yeah. I mean, that is slightly what we're trying to go for on the show here. It's like, I can go there, but I'll just keep it chill.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get the other people to start shouting at me, and then I got them right where I want them. So, something we ask a lot of comedians that come on the show: are you the funniest person in your family?
Oh, that's not even a doubt. There's although I will say my mom's pretty funny, because she's got a real that's where all my sarcasm and like stuff comes from, because there was like everyone definitely was ribbing each other all the time, so you had to had to be funny in defense of yourself. But
I do violent improv.
But I mean, easily I do it best, so whatever. They all backed off, because I mean, a pro is a pro.
I often find with interviewing comedians, it's either a big, yeah, obviously, or in other cases, it's like, oh, no, that's why I had to survive.
Yeah. I will say, instead of family, I will say I have a massive, a group of massively funny friends. Like my group of friends is unreasonably funny. Like they have no business being as funny as they are.
Yeah, it's always that law of like weirdness and comedic magnetism. We sort of attract each other.
Yeah. So it's a lot of dumb ideas also come from that sounding board of idiots that I surround myself with.
I believe Matthew Inman coined the term of the concept of multiplicative idiocy. It's not a half-wit plus a half-wit equals a full wit. A half-wit times a half-wit equals a quarter wit.
Yeah. Especially where boys are concerned.
Isn't that kind of the point?
Yes.
Amen.
Yes. Hey, some of the stupidest ideas come to the best comedy. Have you ever seen a comedy special where they tell a story with a smart idea?
Not once. There isn't one.
So you said that you've been taking improv classes recently, or I saw that you'd been taking improv classes. Which group are you working with?
It was literally just I'd say right before, like the end of 2019, I had taken a year at the Improv Asylum in Boston.
Oh.
Just like of classes and whatever. And we had our grad show. And kind of the grad show is a thing that set me off to be like, I need to start getting after this in a more real way. Because the grad show, I had written a sketch that stupidly I opened alone on stage by myself. And we sold the place out for our grad show. So then as I was walking out, I was terrified. But then when like the lights came up and the spotlight hit and we had to go, it was almost like a drug. Like I was gone. And then at the end of it, I was like, oh, okay. So I just had like a weird out of body experience and I need to continue doing this.
Yeah.
But then as I was going to do more of it, 2020 started. And I think we all know how that story goes.
Oh yeah.
So I just kind of threw it into TikToks instead in online videos. And since then haven't really gone back too much to the improv space, but it definitely unleashed a different like comedy, I guess, gene. I don't know. It unlocked something.
Do you plan to, like, if things ever get a little bit more calmed down, do you plan to start touring with some stand-up material?
Well, I did a podcast once with someone who was a stand-up in Boston, and in my mind, for whatever reason, sketch comedy and stand-up are so different. And she was talking to me and she said, no, like you have to understand that all you have to do is just kind of tell it instead of, acting it out and whatever. You can still act it out on stage. You can still, when you're telling your, like all of these things that you're doing, you're writing are still funny if you just present it in a slightly different way. So she started working with me to get me to do more stand-up, which I did via Zoom, but I actually just tweeted today that I need to get back into like writing and stuff to get out and start exploring the world of standing in front of people and then telling your jokes. And then if I can get enough good stuff together, then yeah, I absolutely would bounce around and go different places and just do that. Why would you not want to?
Well, if you ever end up in Austin, there are plenty of good comedy clubs here, and well, then there's also the whole Moon Tower Comedy Festival. So definitely some welcoming comedic talent here, and also the food. Seriously, you ever in town, hit me up, and I can take you to Torchy's Tacos. We're like, what do we call it? Tacos with the talent.
Tacos with the talent.
Yeah.
Or Taco Talk. We haven't decided yet.
Yeah,
We only did it with Jackie Cation, so we haven't gotten a name for it yet.
But definitely a lot of good times here.
I support it. I'm all for it.
So I saw that you got a big write-up in the Boston Globe.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
How's it feel?
That was weird because at I don't know, at the time it was just like I wasn't really expecting anything out of it. I was still just doing dumb videos for the internet and just thought it was funny. And then someone had reached out and they were like, "Oh, I think this is funny. We obviously we don't have concerts and shows, but I do the like the arts and entertainment thing or whatever column." And she was like, "So I want to feature some of the people that are still finding ways to do stuff, even though there are no live events." And so she was like, "I wanted to do a write up on you and how you started and how things have happened." And I was like, "What? Me? Why?" So that was pretty cool. It was a whole, and I thought it was just going to be like some little thing. It was a whole. They had someone take pictures and like all this other stuff. So it was a whole thing that I was not expecting, but it was definitely dope. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. I can definitely attest to like trying to find more information about how people have been surviving that way. Like essentially, a lot of the interviews from the previous season were like individual case studies on how people are getting by these days.
Oh yeah.
So it'll be nice to add your story to the story, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. So just wrapping it all up, one final question that we were asking all the guests this season, the first one to get this one. If you could bring back any 2 people from the dead for 24 hours, who would you bring back and what would you do with them?
2 people from the dead, if I could bring them back. Ooh. That's good. First, I gotta think of people. I keep thinking of old people, and then I don't know if they're dead or not, and I feel bad.
I feel that every time it's just like, oh, they died. Wait, they're still alive?
Oddly enough, I don't know. I'd probably bring back Michael Jackson just because I want to go to a Michael Jackson concert. And like that's entirely selfish. That's like I just want to go to that concert. That's it. That's the only reason. And then who else? There's so many people. Maybe I don't know why I keep thinking of like performers, but maybe someone like Sinatra, just because I dig that our whole wedding was a old Hollywood themed and like Rat Pack themed. So, and our first dance was The Way You Look Tonight by Sinatra and all that. Like, so we're big, like just Sinatra people, like the vibe of it. So I would just like love to sit in a little like cocktail bar and just have him just like, again, selfishly, I just want to go see the performance.
I mean, that would be pretty legendary. And if you ever get this ability, hit me up on that one because I want to see Sinatra too.
It's a winning pick.
All right, so I guess that wraps it up. BMoThePrince, everybody. We'll be right back.
Oh, hey, thank you very much for being here for our Season 3 premiere. I'd like to thank our special guest, BMoThePrince, for being a really funny guy to talk to. Check out his content over on TikTok. You won't be sorry. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and as always, it is what it is.
What I did on my summer vacation, by Rex Kirby. I was just sitting in my little bed chair, thinking about all the adventures I was going to go on over the summer. And figured I'll go surfing. It was so cool, and nice and tan. And I dancing, I could take that damn dancing bear. And that chum over by the countryside, over by the river. This nice guy was there. We got a really nice chair. After we had any snacks, that was still cool. Pretty nice view. So I went down to the river. There was really nice, relaxing, and soothing. Hey, Mr. Duck. And then I splashing around. I was turning my life. It was awesome. Hey, that's not cool, man. Why did you do that?
You guys suck.